Welcome to Customer Success Stories by Content at Scale. I think you'll enjoy this new format that we're doing with these stories, and we'll keep the experiences consistent and engaging for our audience. But also, I want to leave plenty of room for each guest's unique story, and I think you'll see that. You'll learn the challenges faced and victories won using Content at Scale. Today, we have a special guest. Based in Shrewsbury, UK. I'm not sure if that's how you say that, but that's how I'm saying it today. Their 42-person team has more than 2,500 SEOs using their 120,000 links per year. That is a lot of links. Please welcome Jess Baxter and Jack Johnson from Rhino Rank. How are you guys?
Yeah, I'm well, thank you. How are you?
Doing well. Glad to have you on. I'm going to ask each of you a little intro question just to make sure our audience knows, your whole story. So I want you guys, can you give me a brief intro to Rhino Rank, like what it is and who you serve?
Do you want me to do that for us, Jess? Happy with that?
Yeah, sure. Take the lead.
Yeah. So Rhino Rank, who are we? We are a specialist link building agency. A little bit of background: as a company, we've been running for 7 years, and the company started very, very small. Started with the two co-founders. They were set up in a town/city about an hour away from Shrewsbury, in a town called Stoke. And it was just those two, and it was a different company name to begin with. They both left a large insurance firm in the UK, both on relatively good salaries, and just wanted to have their own grind, wanted to say that this is ours as such. Quickly, the company started growing, shot off purely just from recommendations. We haven't done any marketing or hadn't done any marketing for the first 6 years we ran as a business. It was purely down to recommendations. And quickly the company, like I say, started growing, hiring members of staff. And right now we've got anywhere from 30 to 40 members of staff in the office at any one time, purely just link building. Like I say, we're a specialist link building vendor. We don't offer other services. We don't offer content right now. We don't offer SEO retainers. We don't offer on-page technical. We simply just link build. And I think that's part of the beauty of Rhino Rank as a whole, is that, like I say, we are a specialist. We just do one thing. We're not a typical jack of all trades agency as such. We simply focus on one thing. In terms of who we serve, the beauty of link building is we can serve absolutely everybody. And I know when I speak to clients personally, it can shock them a little bit, but that's the beauty of SEO, as you'll likely well know as well, John, that SEO is for everybody. If you've got a website, you can optimize your site to try and get yourself ranking, which is why we can serve anybody. We typically serve agencies. We're a fantastic white label solution for them. We're typically the cheapest vendor in the industry, purely because we prefer to build in bulk. We prefer to build for large agencies who need links for their clients. But then we also work directly with businesses too, who don't have a lot of experience in terms of link building and SEO. And we offer fantastic recommendations to them to help them see results. So in terms of business type, agencies, direct businesses, freelancers, you name it, we can work with them. And it also speaks volumes in terms of the niches we work with. Again, SEO is for everybody. We've worked in the travel industry, insurance, finance, health, beauty, lifestyle. Some of the more obscure ones like CBD and cannabis industry, we're probably one of the largest vendors for that industry specifically. A lot of people don't like to build links for it. We love it. We're very, very good at it. We also work in the adult industry, the gambling industry, casino, and we work worldwide. You name it, we've probably worked in the country you're from. We primarily work over in America. That's typically where the market is for link building. But we also work in Canada, the UK, Australia, New Zealand, Thailand, Europe, Mexico. Again, the list is endless. So we really can work with anybody from anywhere. That's probably, I'd like to think, a good background. Does that sum that up well enough for you?
In bulk, and I was looking on your website yesterday, 120,000 links a day, bulk, no kidding. And you were mentioning also everybody, right? So if you have a business, you need a website. If you have a website, you need links.
Yeah.
Right. So 120, that's I was just doing the math while you were talking. That's over 300 a day for the whole year. That's just average. Right. Yeah. That's on average. Like, talk
Yeah,
about volume.
it's a big number. It's a big number.
Yeah.
And that's typically down to automation where we can. Now, link building is a very manual process, but what we do isn't rocket science. What we do, anybody can do. Anybody could set up a business and do something very similar to us. But I'd be very surprised if straight away they could build at the level we do and at the scale we do, purely because we've automated where we can. So whilst we build all links via a manual outreach process, we're strictly vetting sites that we want to work with. We're really strict in terms of the content we want to work with. Where we can automate things in terms of trying to build a relationship with that person to work with them to get a link secured for our client, we try and automate that where we can, automating, checking whether somebody has responded to us. So automation can be really important for a business like us. So where we can, we will, but it can be really difficult to automate things that need a human interaction, which typically link building does, which is why we have such a large scale team for something as simple as link building.
You mentioned scale.
Yes.
Of course, for me, that triggers content at scale, right? Creating things at scale, because I'm always thinking in terms of that. But you also mentioned those first 6 years, you guys were growing just pretty much word of mouth.
Yeah.
Wild. So what, and then my curiosity goes, okay, what happened on that 6th year that was like this stretch of resources or this realization that you needed to pivot? What was that growth? Was there some sort of growth pain and you needed a solution?
I wouldn't necessarily, there was a growth pain as such. I think, and you'll probably see it with content at scale, referrals are fantastic. If somebody finds something that they like, they're likely going to share it with their friend. And definitely in the SEO industry, I think that is widespread. If somebody finds a tool or a solution, or in our section, a link building vendor that they find good and effective and provides results, they're going to share that with their friends or their colleagues. And I think for us, we possibly reached a point whereby referrals were drying up. Everybody that had used us had reached out to all of the friends that they had. And we sort of said to ourselves, we're in a fantastic position as a company, and we're quite comfortable where we are. We're quite comfortable at the scale we're building, the number of links we're building, and the team we have. But if we really want Rhino Rank to be a leading brand in the industry, then we want to grow. And to grow, we needed to market. And that's why we brought Jess on board. Jess is our marketing manager, and she's fantastic at what she does, and has really helped to start to develop the brand that we have here at Rhino Rank, which is, like I say, why we started to market ourselves, because we needed to. We want to grow. We want to be that leading brand in the industry, and that household name. If somebody says, "Oh, I need link building," or "I need links," they say Rhino Rank. It's the first name that's mentioned, and that's where we want to get to.
Yeah. Jess, how did you market? Like, how did you start to think differently, or how did Rhino Rank start to think differently, and what did that look like?
So I think the first thing you have to do is understand the brand and the brand identity, because you can't just come into a company with pre-existing ideas or notions of what worked somewhere else or what didn't work somewhere else and stick to those kind of criteria. You have to come in, you have to understand the people who work there, the individual processes that they use, what makes us unique. And I think what makes us so unique to others is, as you know, Jack is focused on, we specialize purely in link building. We're not one of these large scale agencies that does SEO, PPC, and social management. We do link building, and we do it very, very well, which is why we have such a high client retention rate. And that's something that, from a marketing perspective, you want to promote. You want to say to business owners or agencies, people who come and work with us, they typically stick around and will work with us long term. We've had some clients who, I think Jack will agree, joined us the first couple of days, couple of weeks Rhino Rank started, and they're still an existing customer. And that just shows you, 7 years into the business, how well our links work within the industry.
I'm so curious about that. Like, back, rewinding to that era, right? And even maybe more recently, like what were some of the like the challenges that and maybe you'll have to like really think back, or I'm not really sure, because like what were some of the challenges you were facing for example, before content at scale, like what did life look like at Rhino Rank before that, and then what problem did that solve for you guys?
That's a good question. In terms of content at scale specifically, like John, I'll be honest, it's not something we use for clients. We typically don't use AI content for clients. It's all written in house. But in terms of the problem that we found as a business, and I'd probably mention this specifically to marketing, and Jess would probably be able to shed a little bit more light on this, but I would probably say assistance in developing content for us personally, as opposed to, like I say, for our clients. That was probably the key thing in terms of developing content that was of a good quality, and also portrayed us as portrayed us in the way that we wanted to be portrayed who we are as a brand as such. And sometimes that can be really difficult to show our voice. Does that kind of make sense? Like I said, Jess will probably be able to give a little bit more on that.
Yeah, so I'll just obviously elaborate on what Jack's just said. So for me personally, I've taken quite a big role on, for example, our website or social channels, and I use multitude of AI tools, including content at scale, to help me structure my content plans and to show me, real life ranking data. So I use it a lot with my initial research phase, because you can obviously do manual keyword research or competitor analysis, which is fantastic, but there's not always enough hours in the day to get everything done. And using an AI content tool to give you that base structure and that foundation, which you can then build on, I think has benefited us, because we're able to produce a lot more high quality content that resonates with users' needs and interests. So you can engage your target audience in the best way possible without it taking hours and hours of your time every single week.
And everyone uses it differently. So it being content at scale. So I definitely like hearing about the unique cases and workflows. For example, what I do in terms of workflow and content at scale. And I want to dig and see, I'm so curious like how you guys use it. What I do, for example, is I make a project, right? A project being a representation of a website. In your case, your website. And then I go into the keyword research and I poke around, right? It's ideation, it's discovery, right? So I'll type in the seed keyword that I think generally I want to write about, and then I'll get a bunch of results, right? Lots of keywords, and I'll choose a few, and then I'll push them to either my content calendar or planner, or I'll just create content straight from keyword research. And then I get that content, it's AI written at that point, or, as my shirt says, straight out of AI. And then I can edit it however I see fit, and then I just publish it. And there are certainly more features, but that's generally my workflow. Do you guys have a go-to workflow on content at scale, or does it change all the time, or are you still exploring with it, or what have you seen?
I think with AI, it's always going to be exploring. Things are changing at such a rapid rate within digital marketing. You can do one thing one week and the following week, algorithms have changed. There's been a Google core update, there's industry fluctuations, and then that will affect again how you maybe structure your content processes or what you want to add or tweak. For me, it's quite similar to yourself. So you do that initial keyword research, you pick your primary keyword, the one that has got a good traffic level and a possibly low difficulty rating or untapped market, and then you build your content around that, and you use the AI content that's created as your foundation, which you can then add to, put in your additional branding, promote your products, or just have a completely unique kind of perspective on things. Because I think if you can make content your own, that's where you're going to get those ranking bonuses. Because if everybody used any AI tool and didn't have any personal involvement in that content from the day they press enter, that's where I think you run into difficulties, because AI is amazing, but you do have to have that human touch, I think, to be able to resonate with people. And to interact with someone through a screen is quite difficult. I think I was reading a study the other day that the human attention span online is, it's only going down because we're presented with so much short tail information and videos that capturing that initial attention is quite difficult. And that's where you need AI and personal input, I think.
I think you nailed it. And a lot of people with that short attention span online, they find a new shiny tool, some AI tool. And I think a big pitfall, maybe you guys have seen this in other companies, maybe your competitors, where they fall for the shiny object and they don't take the time to learn like what the AI tool actually unlocks for them, does for them. And so you mentioned the danger of no human input, right? They just press enter and they just wholly, entirely rely on AI, which the more people do that, the easier it becomes to rank because they put out trash, right? With random AI tools, or if they're not really paying attention to how they're using AI. So with content at scale, it already writes this human-like content. It is very, very good straight out of AI. But even with that extra human touch, it becomes better. Do you guys edit your AI written content before publishing on your site, or do you just publish straight out of AI, like with content at scale?
For me personally, I will always edit. I think because, even from human written AI content, or if you do anti-AI detection tools and things like that, the only way that I would ever be comfortable publishing content is if I've read it and I would be happy to put my name to it. And to do that, you do have some form of editing, whether it's format changes or, slight nuance tweaks, because the way that your brand articulates itself, they might use different versions of specific words and phrases that, other AI tools wouldn't necessarily use within their automated writing services. So I think for me, I would always want to be comfortable knowing what I'm putting out there, and fact check as well. Because I know AI tools, they'll sometimes cite sources, but you have to double check that, is that source up to date? Did that source get their information and statistics from the correct place? So yeah, I would always edit my content.
I'll jump in there as well, John, if you don't mind. I do exactly the same. I know when I've used these AI tools in the past, I'd also be editing the content. I think it's having a sense of ownership over this. Yes, you can quickly get a tool to write your content, press enter and publish it, but you've got no idea what that content says unless you've read through it, unless you've edited it. Like Jess said, is it articulating your brand in the right way? And you have no idea whether you'd actually be happy with what it says. It could be going completely against what your company is trying to portray without you even realizing if you've not edited this content. And I've seen other tools, if we look at things like Midjourney, for example, specifically when we are, as a company, vetting sites that we would maybe want to work with if we find a possible placement. And you see some images on these sites and you think, they've not even actually looked at this image. They've simply pulled it from an AI creator. For us as a business, specifically when we're using these tools personally, it's making sure that they're at the quality that if we were creating it ourselves, it's matching that, if not improving it. And that's, I think, absolutely key for anybody that wants to use a solution like content at scale, is instead of just, like you say, looking at maybe other brands that see this new shiny tool and say, this is going to save me lots of time. Well, fantastic. If it saves you lots of time, are you also considering, is it going to actually help you as a brand? Is it going to improve what you're already outputting? Is it going to help you develop as a company? Because if it's not doing those things, saving time isn't really giving you a lot. And I think definitely for us as a company, that's why we're always very, very careful when using these tools on a personal basis.
Yeah. When you do publish them, like you said, you take a look, right? You maybe add some images, but like, what has that unlocked for you? There's an AI word for you, unlocked, right? AI loves to use that word, but truly, what results? There we go. Have you seen with content at scale that just weren't there before? And you can totally be honest, because I want your unique perspective. What results have you seen with it that just didn't exist without content at scale?
I think I'll pass this bit over to Jess, as Jess specifically has the experience, definitely in terms of the content we've used for the website and the success we've seen. So she'll be best versed to discuss this for us.
Yeah, so for me personally, using content at scale and, testing other AI tools in general, what it has allowed me to do long term is save a substantial amount of time. Obviously, you still do your own, initial research, you do your SERP analysis, competitor analysis, keyword gap analysis, but when you can combine that with AI keyword research, that a lot of these tools encompass by suggesting maybe secondary keywords based on what your primary target is, that is a huge time saver. Because as wonderful as some people's brains are, you can't do everything yourself all the time. It's whether you have another person's opinion or perspective or an AI tool's suggestion, it's always great to have that choice. And it's also allowed us to produce a lot more content on scale. No pun intended, but it's allowed us to create a scheduled backlog of content. So instead of having to sit down one day a week or a couple of days a month and fully concentrate on content and nothing else, and that suck up a lot of your time and resources, what we've been able to do is create a backlog of 6 months worth of content in maybe a quarter of the time it would usually take. And having that backlog of content that is relevant and relevant today and will still be relevant in 6 months' time, that you have that safety net. So if next core update or algorithm change, there's a massive shift in what ranking factors are important, you don't have to worry that, well, I have no time to dedicate to improving X, Y, and Z because I've got content that I need to sit down and write to make sure our schedule's up to date. You have that breathing space to be able to focus on what the priority tasks are as a business. So I think that's really helped. And then obviously, we've got a very high, if not perfect, indexing rate with all of our content. We're able to reach different target markets with the content we're creating. We're ranking very well on Google for a lot of our chosen key terms. We then use AI content to boost our internal linking to our services and product pages, which in turn helps their ranking and status on Google and other search engines. So it all comes into play in like one big circle. Everything affects something else. And using AI content has just helped boost what we're doing as an overall digital marketing platform for the business.
I've seen that often. It's the time, right? The time saving. Like with, we live and breathe by content calendars, right? Sometimes editorial calendars. And without that time saving, or with human writing only, I'll say human only writing without AI, I think, and this is just my opinion, I think too often we serve the calendar instead of the calendar serving the content. And I hope with content at scale, and I hope with you guys using content at scale, that we can start serving the content again, really ultimately serving our audience instead of being like a pressure, a slave to the calendar, right? Oh, I got to get this piece out instead of I got to get this piece really good and published and polished and serving my audience. So yeah, I hear that a lot with the time saving.
Yeah, absolutely. Like the last thing you want to do is be rushed and then almost forced to publish content that isn't at the caliber or quality you want it to be. So again, like having that 6-month backlog and like structural publishing schedule allows us to ensure every single piece is at the highest quality possible. And of course, a piece that you've scheduled for 5 months' time, you are going to run your eyes over it at, the time of publishing a couple of days before to make sure the facts and figures are the correct, to make sure if you've quoted somebody that they've not said something else that you can then add to what you've got. But as you say, it saves a lot of time and just gives you more freedom within marketing to focus on different avenues and boost your overall digital platform.
And that goes into perfectly what I wanted to talk about next, is looking ahead. So with the next things you want to do, for example, you have a 6-month backlog, right? And lots more growth to experience. What other features in content at scale are you do you have yet to explore, or really what does the next 6 months, a year look like in marketing for you, and how do you plan to, I guess, for lack of a better word, tackle the next 6 months?
I think that's a very good question. At the moment, we are just using AI to help with our internal blog content, but there's always a possibility of utilizing it for product promotion, for social media posts, for rewriting long tail content into much shorter bite-sized pieces. Because you can
Mm.
get a blog post and, pick out certain sections and reuse it for maybe 10, 15 social media posts, and then you can see, okay, which one of those posts performs well, what interactions are we getting, are people asking secondary questions that we can then either use to rewrite the existing post or write a new one that then addresses those queries or concerns or questions. So there's a lot of possibility with AI, and I think it's also constantly adapting and changing. I'm sure Content at Scale has its own kind of 6 month plan of new features or updates. So as and when things do change, it definitely opens avenues for people who use those services.
When they do start using those, what, like, let's say if you know everything you know now, but you just started using Content at Scale, what would you tell someone to get those quick wins or to use Content at Scale successfully?
So I think first and foremost, play around with it. I think if you go in day one thinking you're going to knock out the best quality content and posts and it's going to completely change your life within a very short period, I think you would get a little bit of a wake up call, because it takes time to understand how to input your data into AI to get the best results. It takes time to understand, what topics work best with AI. A lot of AI tools, and I'm not too sure if it's Content at Scale as well, some use real-time data, others use slightly backlogged data. If there's facts that came out in the news today that you want to include in your content, that's still a manual process you'll probably have to do to check. So it's very much go in, have a play, see what works for your brand and business and specific marketing goals, and then expand on that. I suppose that's what I would say.
Want to hear something crazy with that real-time results? So Content at Scale, if you type in a word like a keyword like TSLA, Tesla, it's the stock ticker for Tesla, and you write a post based on that. And this is true with any keyword. It's just particularly relevant with something like a stock ticker symbol. It'll get news up to the minute, and then it'll write an article all about that day's news in Content at Scale. It's absolutely wild. We call it deep research, and it's live right now. So it'll give you up to the minute facts, figures, news, even scholarly articles, depending on the nature of the keyword, of course, and what that keyword elicits in the SERP. So pretty wild what's possible now with real-time research. I don't know if you guys knew that, but deep research is out. Pretty crazy.
I didn't know that personally.
No.
You should try it. I mean, give it a whirl. And like you said, like play around with this new feature, because it can be, you don't know what to expect at first, right? And with you guys, I'll add a credit to your account. It's just so you can feel comfortable playing around with that new deep research. Because you guys have been users for a while, and we love you guys, so I'm happy to help you play around with that.
Thank you.
Absolutely. I want to thank you guys for being on today. I know it's later where you are and earlier where I am, so we met in the middle here and had a good time. I want to share with our audience, and I want to, again, thank you guys. To learn more about ranking well with Content at Scale, go to contentatScale.ai. Rhino Rank has been excellent in sharing their time, skills, and resources here with us. Anything else you guys want to add?
I don't think so. I think we've pretty much touched on everything, to be honest. No, I won't do a typical sales plug here, say go and look at Rhino Rank. But if you're using Content at Scale, we've personally used it for our own benefit. And I know we've got a blog article. I know Content at Scale have used our blog article as well and mentioned the success we've seen. So if you want some proof, go and take a look. The proof is in the pudding, as we say over here in the UK. So definitely take a look at that. But also, like I say, take a look at Content at Scale. It's a fantastic tool. But with any AI tool, as both myself and Jess and even John have said on today, make sure there's a human element there. Absolutely make sure there's a human element there. It needs it just for your own peace of mind. Even if it's for peace of mind, it's fantastic and it can really help, but make sure it's there. But yeah, John, thanks for having us. It's been great. I think it's the first time we've ever done something like this. But yeah, we've really enjoyed it. So thank you.
Absolutely. Welcome back anytime. And I just want to thank you guys for being here and sharing that. And yeah, everyone check out RhinoRank.io. Is that right? .io?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And check out the figures. Again, 120,000 links per month. Per year. That's over like 300 a day. Wild what you guys are doing. And a lot of that is manual work. Necessarily so with link building, because link building is relationship building. Yeah. And again, thank you guys.
Yeah. Thank you for having us. Really appreciate your time.
Absolutely.
Thanks,
have a good one, guys. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Bye.